by request, Pow's Rig Rundown, and not by request, but I just thought it might be nice, Mayday in the Making. We're going to do the first half of that series. So let's go. Hey there. Hope you all are having a good December. We're going to do Pow's Rig Rundown in spite of the fact that once I found it, I realized it was almost 4 years old. But I still think we can find some relevancy in it, in her approach to things. And maybe she hasn't even changed gear in the last 3.5 years. You know, once you find what you like, you tend to stick with it. So let's take a look at it and see what Pow has to say. Here we go.
Hey guys, so today I'm also going to be doing a rundown of the things I use, and it's going to be a really cool activity, as you saw with Danny yesterday, but now it's going to be with me. Woo! So you guys may or may not know this, but apart from drumming, I have a very big responsibility for our live shows, which is everything like from the tech side. So I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes of what usually goes on when we're playing live. I run the show in Ableton Live 10. This is the session that I have going on for our shows right now. These are the tracks, as you can see. I launch everything with a MIDI click track, which is right there. And here are the tempo changes in some of the songs. And basically, I launch everything through these MIDI pedals, which are the Roland KT10 pedals. This is my start pedal, and this is my stop pedal. I run everything through the trigger module, TM2, Roland, and it's been a really big process, like building all of this session, because at first I just ran the click and the stems, but now I run the visuals that are usually behind me on a screen, and Danny's pedal board, which is really cool. When we implemented that, look, it's here. So I have all of the
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is not something I normally do, but while it's on my mind, this explains why Danny looked at Pow when her Ovation had no volume. She just told you that she was running Danny's pedal board. So maybe Danny thought that for some reason the pedal board was on a different channel or turned off altogether for a second. So that explains that in my mind anyway. So let's go ahead.
Of all of the notes from the pedal board, I have, this is time code, because sometimes we launch the visuals by MIDI, sometimes it's by time code. So it's been a really big, like, learning process, but it's been a really, thankfully since we switched to Ableton Live 10, everything has been running smoothly, and it's been such a weight off my shoulders to use this program. It's been so great, and I can enjoy the shows even more now. And that is a very, like, summarized version of what I do behind the scenes, because it took me a really long time to get where I am with that program, because at first I used to launch the shows, like, with a pre-recorded click track and, like, a stem track, and I ran it on iTunes. I just launched it like that, like, play, stop, on the computer. But now I have the Ableton, and it's great. And I can add so many more things to the program that I haven't. But it's been, like, really cool to figure all of this out. And I've only been using Ableton Live, I don't know, for, like, I started May of last year. So I still haven't even been using the program for a year. But I already did so much with it, and I can't wait to see what more I will do with it. Okay, so now moving on to drumstick. I use Big Firth. Yes, I use 5A American Classic Hickory drumsticks, and I have the pink version. One time I was in LA and I just saw them at a store, and I was like, these are amazing. I need to have them. You guys know how much I love the color pink. So I have both versions, and I have them stocked up in my house because I break them a lot. Look. So, but yeah, these are the two that I use all the time. Okay, so drum skins. I use Remo drum skins. I have been using them literally since I started playing. So, like, for 12 years. I use the pinstripe clear drum skin for all of my toms. And I use the Remo controlled sound coated drum skin for my snare. And as I said, I've been using this my whole life, and I'm really used to them. I really love them ever since I started playing. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to change them anytime soon. Okay, now this is going to be a lot of fun to explain. This is my drum set. First of all, look at it. Look at how beautiful it is. I have DW drums. This is a collector series. It's maple with a mahogany finish. It's such a beautiful drum set. Okay, this is a 10-inch tom, 12-inch tom, 14-inch tom, 16-inch tom. But live, I usually use a 16-inch tom and an 18-inch tom so I can get a really deep sound. And all my hardware is also DW. I have this really cool cage that we started implementing right now because this is a replica of the drum set that I was going to use live for my North American tour. But since it was postponed, still, we planned it. So basically, the thinking behind this cage was that if we have a replica of the drum set here, we can practice setting it up in like 15 minutes. Do not take that much time setting it up live. And everything has memory locks. And look, I'm a very short drummer. I have short legs, short arms. So like the setup usually took a really long time because we had to make everything really short. But with these memory locks, everything is already set up. So we really do not take that much time anymore to set up the drums, which is usually what took the longest while we were setting up. Okay, so now onto my favorite part of my drum set, which is cymbals. Okay, I use Sabian cymbals. I've been using Sabian cymbals since I was 6 years old. I've been playing with them for 12 years. I'm extremely proud to be part of the Sabian family. Okay, so for crashes, I use an 18-inch AAX explosion crash on my left. I use an 16-inch AAX explosion crash on my right. I have an HHX Evolution Ozone, an 18-inch one, and it's just so amazing. This is my favorite cymbal out of my whole set. It just has this really dark color to it, and I just absolutely adore it. I have an AAX 14-inch stay hats on my right, and I have some 14-inch HHX groove hats here on my left. I have this little AAX splash, which I really love using live. And now I have my favorite ride of all time. This is an HHX raw belt dry ride. I absolutely love this ride. I have tried many Sabian rides, but this is just my favorite. It has this really clean, crisp sound, and I just love it, love it, love it.
Okay, I guess it was over. Yeah, I wanted to mention that about the fact that she controlled her pedal board because I was a little bit mystified when Danny's Ovation was, not making any sound, and she first looked to Pal before she looked at anybody else. And I thought, well, what does Pal know that everybody else doesn't know? Now I know. As I've said to you before, I'm not a percussionist, so I can add very little to what Pal said, other than I recognize most of the brands that have been mentioned. And I'm not sure how she fell into I know how she fell into the click track aspect. And I guess I understand it probably naturally morphed into the running the show behind them. But that's kind of, in my mind, tantamount to your drummer running the light show. And I don't know why you wouldn't hand that off to your audio engineer or to a light engineer. Typically, once a band gets a little bigger, they have somebody separate running the lights as well, or maybe more than one person, because you have people on. Well, I don't know if they even use them anymore, but it used to be we had to have people on spots, and because they didn't have automatic movement or anything like that. So, but anyway, if they're comfortable with the setup, then yeah, they ought to run that way. And obviously, she's intelligent and sharp, and I guess being able to be on top of it. If she's demonstrated that, then there's no reason to change it. But maybe they do things a little different now as they have moved into much larger concerts in the last. Maybe they were doing some bigger ones, but what I'm saying is like the VMAs were a big deal, and obviously the VMAs, MTV is going to be like, well, no, we're running the sound here, because we have to feed it nationally and the whole 9 yards, and we've got the guys who've been doing this right here in this particular arena for a long time. But outside of that, when they get to the bigger shows, maybe they've adjusted some things. But I guess we'll find that out as we go. I'd like to see a more recent rundown and something where someone else is kind of handling how she goes through her progression of what she does. Because there were some things she said that she just didn't explain. She didn't tell you why she liked it that way or what was going. I'd kind of like to see more of that. And I'm sure we'll get a chance. Now, I see that Ale has a newer rig rundown, so we'll run that maybe in conjunction with the second half of this series that we're about to do. And give me a second here so I can get back to the series. All right, now we're at the playlist. So we're going to do the first three. I have no idea what to expect here. I saw this. I saw it's recent. It's in their official homepage. So let's go ahead and watch this and see what this is about. Mayday in the Making, Episode 1. This is the introduction.
Pelo bien.
Primero,
We are ready.
el nombre o de que los nombres individuales y luego la banda o al
No,
revés?
I don't know. Okay. No. Hi, we're the
Warning.
Warning.
I'm
Yeah,
Daniela.
okay,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that makes a lot more
Okay.
sense. Hi, I'm Daniela.
I'm Paulina. I'm Alejandra.
And we are the
The
Warning.
This third album, I can honestly say with a lot of confidence, is that it's the best thing that we've ever done.
The new album, how to describe it? It's the Warning on steroids.
They can all play their instruments like no one I've ever seen. If you listen to this album, you know this is a rock band. It's not a female rock band or a young rock band. This is a rock band.
And then they brought the demos. I was like, you guys are kidding me. It's like, do you ever write a bad song? It's at another level. The Warning at another level.
Working on the album with David and Rick was a little bit nerve-wracking at first because we know what we want to hear.
I was really nervous that David was gonna be like, no, I hate all this and let's do something different. Like, we were prepared to fight over our songs.
We literally told them, like, we are super picky. Picky.
You see how far you can push day one. And you started to talk about a song I didn't like. I said, I don't like this song. And I had 3 girls right up in my face together. And they talk in Spanish.
It's somewhere between like the buddy system and gang mentality, in my opinion. You know, they travel in a pack.
Like a gang of lionesses circling the prey.
I think that if we were not sisters, like, this would have fallen apart so quickly.
Having 3 girls being amazing, talented musicians at such a young age, and then having those 3 girls be sisters and so connected, that doesn't happen.
I can't believe they're my daughter. Like, what moment that happened? How?
Being in a band with your family is great. We experience everything as a family that it'd be weird, like, to experience it alone and then come to my family like, oh my god, this happened. No, it's like a thing. It happened to all of us. It always happens to all of us.
I'm used to being in a room for 3 months with a band. This instance, I've never experienced before. I've never had the parents in the studio. And then their manager came. Now I've got the guardians. I definitely didn't get to be me because I usually swear like a trooper and say all sorts of inappropriate things in the studio because nobody's filming me usually. I've never experienced anything like that, and I probably never will again the rest of my career.
they're going to get where they want to go. They strike me as workaholics, and they're on a mission. I mean, this is their dream, this is their destiny, and they're going to do it.
Their best work yet. And that's not just because they're our daughters.
It's an amazing feeling. A big accomplishment for them.
I mean, they've been through David Bendeth boot camp.
Yep.
Survive. Is it wrong? Yes! I have never been so on time.
This does sound more like a synth.
Going once, going twice. Die for me.
Wow. What a performance. Beautiful, beautiful. What a voice.
Somebody.
What a special voice you have. I hold a certain standard to the records I make. Of course, they've almost earned a rite of passage in the sense that they've played on their record everything.
That's all them, you know. They did it, they played it, they killed it.
When we started working with David, we just took it to like a whole new level. And we're so happy with the result. And I'm just super, super excited for it to be public and for people to listen to it and hear what people have got to say. Because I am so proud of what we did. So proud.
All right, before we go to the next episode, I'm going to address something that I was thinking about earlier. The warning fills a void, and it's a void that developed probably from the late 90s on, maybe early 2000s, with the advent of things like autotune and backing tracks, and of course we shifted to click tracks and in-ear monitors and that kind of thing, and some of that's a great improvement, and some of it is smoke and mirrors in my mind. I think auto-tune is the worst thing to happen to the industry, and it's because people don't have a sense of the sacred, for one, so our past history of music is getting auto-tuned and digitized and thrown on to Spotify. And we are listening to something that's not even real anymore. And when I say that, what I mean is, first of all, it's digitized. It's a digital representation of music. And second of all, the auto-tune correction for pitch error in a singer's voice, for example. And Phil covers this a lot better than I do, or I will, but because I just want to touch on it briefly. When you take if you took Robert Plant's voice and you auto-corrected, the song would change, especially if you grew up with it and you lived with it all your life. All of a sudden, Stairway to Heaven sounds different, but you can't put your finger on it. And the people hearing it for the first time are not hearing the blood and guts and sweat and effort that was put into singing that song. So, in my mind, autotune is destructive. It's destructive to new singers because what are you taking away? The incentive to be unique. You don't have to hit your note perfectly every time. In some cases, it's a matter of identity for a singer. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So I got tired of listening to music. That's one of the things that happened to me. I was listening to classic rock. Real musicians playing their real instruments. Just like Rick Carson said, and just like Joffrey said. Because that's the need. That's the thirst. That's what people are hungry for. And I think Phil covered this even more when he was talking about the raw energy of the band on stage appeals to people. The warning is filling a void of real music, real performance, real power, real attack on rock and roll. And because they're doing that, people are instantly drawn to it because they hear something different. They might not even be able to tell you what that is. But what it is it's that raw performance. And that's what appeals. Now, guys like me, we grew up with that raw performance. There were bands that went into the studio all the time and they cut songs in the raw, just flat doing it. Barely any engineering on it. So it sounded live. You got used to listening to that when you grew up because you understood there are significant flaws in instrumentation, in vocals, in atmosphere, the room itself, that kind of thing. So when they make that point to you twice in the first 6 minutes of this documentary, that should tell you what's happening with this band. Everybody loves the fact that everything you hear coming from them is real. Nothing is augmented. And you can tell that when you listen to them. All right, I've said enough about that, but I think that's a much bigger point than, I think it needs to be covered more often than we do cover it. So here's episode 2. Here we go.
Hello, I am Paulina Villarreal. I am 18 years old. I am the drummer for the band The Warning. My name is Alejandra Villarreal. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico, and I'm the bass player for the band The Warning.
I'm Daniela Villarreal. I am the guitar player and lead singer of The Warning. So The Warning came to be in a very early stage of our lives. We started playing classical piano at a very young age. I think I was 6 and Pau was around 4.
It was a family environment of music.
We started playing the piano when we were very young. We started with like classical music, and then we bought this video game, Rock Band, the Rock Band.
The Rock Band.
Rock Band.
When we bought the game, that was the moment when we were like, hey, we want to do that.
We absolutely loved that video game. We played it all the time. I would just be like jumping around with my guitar. Pat would never let me play the drums because that was her thing and she was super good at it, and I was just like, no.
When we bought the game, I noticed Paulina, and she was like with so much coordination, and I told her like, look at Paulina.
But you need to take into account that I was like 6 years old at that time.
My next week, Paulina was in lessons.
The thing with Dani was she wanted the guitar because of the rock band, but we knew that it was going to be difficult for her because she was 8 years old.
I asked my dad if I could play the guitar and he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. And he said 6 months. And by the week I wanted to give up.
But she kept her promise, and by that time she already started to love.
I was about 3 when we got the Rock Band, so I didn't actually play. She was a baby. Ale basically, when we were playing Rock Band, Ale was clapping next to us. I picked the bass when I was about like 6 or 7, and I was like, ooh, I want to play that. Don't know what it is, but I want to play it. And when she started playing the bass, we started like thinking like, hey, these instruments, like we can play them together. We were like, oh, these 3 instruments actually make up a band. So we're like, we can start playing together.
We said like, why? We should play something together. And that was it.
We had no idea that we were gonna do what we're doing today, like at all.
For us, the decision to upload videos on YouTube was just like, we're gonna send it to our grandparents. The file is too big, let's upload it on YouTube and send them the link.
But suddenly they started getting a lot of attention.
All of a sudden, it exploded.
Our parents really reminded us that like this was for the music and we could use that to start writing our own music. I think that was something that caused such a huge change in us, from just like, let's play for fun, to like, whoa, we're a band now.
Not everything comes without its sacrifices. It was tons and tons of practice.
Suddenly, you're not just a normal little teenager who goes to school, does her homework. You're playing shows, you're playing in festivals, and you're playing in front of a lot of people. Something that maybe like a lot of people my age take for granted, like going to parties, going to school, even like people who like, oh my god, I need to wake up at like 6 a.m. and go to school every day, was something that like we couldn't do.
And I appreciate the support of my parents and all that they had to go through to get us to this point, because for them, it was just as hard.
As a parent, you never know which one is the right path. We wanted to support them, like any parent, just try to give them what makes them happy.
We usually compare it, what we're doing and what is happening and what could have happened. But as we started playing more shows and as more people started to show up, especially like at an international level, it was like that's where it really settled in. Like, whoa, like this is for real. We are so grateful that we have the opportunity to be playing these shows, working this way, writing music. Like all these opportunities don't happen to a lot of people.
Thanks to all of that and all the sacrifice that we put through as a team, and not only us but our parents and our management, everyone is just so incredible, and I'm very grateful not only that we did it but that we were able to overcome it.
Ooh, okay.
If we weren't in a band,
If we weren't in music in general, because we always get out of that question like, oh, it would be a song right now. Like, what would you do out of music?
Honestly, I think I would be a teacher.
A teacher.
A teacher.
No, you would be such a good boss.
You'd be a
Oh,
good, thanks.
Yeah. I would like to write. Yeah, I'd be a good
You
writer.
would be a writer.
I would have to do
definitely.
something creatively. I couldn't. Yeah, no, like a job office. I honestly have no idea.
I think you would be a good model.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not really good at posing, but you know,
You'd be a
could
good model.
I could work on You that. got the height, you got the face.
Describe each other. Okay, let's do Pal first.
Creative.
Outspoken.
She's a spark.
She can also be a bit loud,
The life of the party.
energetic.
Great drummer, great singer.
She really drives what's happening.
She goes completely on passion.
Pal is such a fan of music.
Drummer, singer, writer, composer.
Alpha, right in your face.
But she's so lovable.
I'm gonna take everything as a compliment. You. How would I describe myself though?
LA is so humble and so talented. She's technically incredible.
She can hang with the best of them.
Very bold.
She's observant and very persistent.
You are scary at times, but that is very useful.
Yo, Allie with the eye rolls. She's the most reserved, but to be honest, she may be the most animated.
You. Danny, you're very organized.
Older sister, protector. The same as she asks of herself, which is a lot, she asks of the team.
Disciplined, persistent.
She's a sweetheart.
She's honestly super nice. Like, I don't know how she does it.
She's the heart.
Very, very passionate.
She's a boss.
Danny is a powerhouse front woman.
I mean, she's up there with the top voices of female rockers.
The beacon of light in the darkness.
Oh my god, thank you guys.
See?
So nice.
And I'm scary. Jumping from covers to like writing our own music I think it came very naturally.
Pao has been writing songs since she was like, I don't know, maybe even 5. We would be like, I don't know, making lemonade. She was like, making lemonade.
We started writing as like a little experiment, and our first EP was basically those little experiments.
Our main focus for writing is rock and roll, but that doesn't mean that we don't listen or learn from any other genres.
I listen to a lot of K-pop, and I also listen to a lot of Japanese rock since it's so different. I listen to a lot of classical music, I listen to a lot of alternative music, I listen to a lot of K-pop.
I love rock and roll for its energy, and I wouldn't change that for our band, but it's great also to learn from all the different types of music that there's all around the world.
Good. I really liked it. The chorus is really good, and I think that one of the best things about this is that you put really quick melodies that go up and down very quickly, and in like Korean language, like that works so well because they have like so many like syllables.
Creatively, it's all them. The way they work is they start writing and composing, and then they get together, then they rehearse, and they don't show us anything.
As for what we speak about in our songs, well, most of the times they come from Pao's brain, and we're just like, that's genius, and we kind of tweak it out and make the song appropriate to that feeling that we're talking about.
So I usually just sit on the piano and I just play something until something comes out. And then I show Danny and Ali the song. I try to pitch it as best as I can. So they're like, oh my god, that's a great song, let's work on it.
Pal's the one who has like that muscle, that creativity to just like create little words out of nowhere.
We start working on it. We start adding the drums, the guitars, the bass, and we're all very involved in that process. And it's really fun because I know I play the bass, but I don't do my bass parts alone. Like, Paul helps me and Danny helps me, and it's the same for the drums, the vocals, and the guitars.
Since we are very, very opinionated, we like to be in each and every part of the process. So we're doing bass lines, we're all there. Each second is important.
We're all very involved in every part of the process, which I think makes every song unique, and it sounds like us. Honestly, we get along so well, but the only moments where we have like fights is when we're writing, because we have such different opinions about what a song should be. It's up to votes. 2 people, you win.
We work really, really well because we have this honesty to our communication.
We do have like that clear line between like bandmates and sisters. You need to look at it as like what's best for the band, and not like, oh my god, like you're turning your back on me, like I'm your sister. No, like we're working.
Seeing them in the studio interact as bandmates and as sisters was really cool. It's just such a deeper level of connection. They know exactly what they need to do to support each other in all situations. When someone's cutting a vocal or when someone's cutting a guitar, like if it's going well or if there's hesitation, there's just like that sister connection. Was so cool to see that level of support.
They're sisters. I don't know how else to put it. It's like obvious that they're sisters, that they have each other's back, they finish each other's sentences, or they say the same thing at the same time.
When you're in a band, it's like you can break up. If this band were to disband, like they're still gonna be sisters, and no matter how heated or how big of a deal any of this is to any of us, I don't think it's more important than their family to them.
I'm so glad that we started writing our own music, because there's like nothing that I love more. That's what we like doing the most, inspiring people with our own music.
And I have found out that my comfort zone is writing from the heart. It's literally, if I'm feeling a very strong emotion, the song comes out.
All right, I'm going to stop there for tonight. I have to move on to some more production for other bands, but we'll pick it up again tomorrow night. This is a good broad scope look at the band's process and history. And I got the feeling we're probably not going to drill down very deep, but that's okay, because I need a sense that y'all have of how they relate. And you don't get good relating information if you're drilling down deep into gear and process and that kind of thing, unless you first get that, how do we relate to each other? How does it connect to family? What's our center of gravity, which apparently is not just family, but the sense of family that embraces everybody around them. So once they step into the studio, even what's his name, Rudy Joffrey says that he had to even change his speaking habits. I get that. I guess you probably saw in that one shot that 36 track machine he was sitting over, and that's what makes you cuss forever and a day. Part of it, anyway. So that's a good look at a good starting look, and we're going to finish it up tomorrow night, and I think I'll couple it with Ale's new rig rundown. It sounds like, and you can clarify this in the comments for me, because obviously I've only heard this once, but it sounds like Pal tends to write the lyrics, and Ale and Danny cover the melody, and maybe Danny hovers over both parts of the process while Ale writes melody. But it makes sense how everything blends so well together on stage because of the way that they determine, they have the 2 people vote. So everything has, if everybody's involved in every instrument, it's going to look the same every time, or at least it's going to have the same parameters. This is difficult to explain, and I want to sleep on it and think about it a little longer. But when you're writing a song together, when you're arranging it, actually, because usually you've written it mostly to the point when you bring it to the band. If you're a principal songwriter in a band and you bring the song to the band, the rest of the band then begins to make adjustments. It's kind of the, that's the way you kind of look at it. The drums say, well, hey, that, you're asking this when it probably ought to be this. And was like, okay, I'm not a drummer. Why don't you show me what that's going to sound like? And then you just keep making adjustments with the bass player and the other guitarist and the singer until you get the song down to where every time you play it, you're pretty comfortable with it. And I talk about this, especially with Love Bites, because they have the dual guitarists, about repetition is the key to any great band, and to be a tight band. Repetition is everything, because repetition not only makes you tighter and gets everything down that you're doing, but repetition also shows you flaws, errors or changes in dynamic that you didn't hear the first 100 times. You're going to hear 101st time. So I'll be interested to hear the rest of this documentary. It looked like it was fairly new, fairly recent. So I'm hoping the information's up to date. It appears to be. All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow night with the back half of this. I appreciate you stopping by. Hope you're having a good week, and I'll see you later. Bye now.